everybody, and welcome to the Suburban Edge. It's that place between the country and the city where together we can learn modern homesteading skills. I'm out in the garden and I'm tending to my tomatoes. It's been about 2.5 weeks since I last pruned my tomatoes, and this time I'm going through variety by variety and showing you how I maintain them. And you do continue to prune through the whole growing season. And I also want to show you the fruit of each variety that I'm growing. I'm standing in front of my beautiful Matina tomatoes, and I wanted to talk a little bit about continuing maintenance. Your indeterminates will grow and grow until the first frost. My reasoning for pruning, and there you will find a million different opinions on the internet. Trust me, if you want opinions, you can go to YouTube and get all kinds of opinions. For me, this really works. We have a short growing season here in the Pacific Northwest, and maintaining and pruning my tomatoes, continuing to check on them, has yielded so many tomatoes. I'm going to zoom in and show you my beautiful Matinas. Fruiting like mad, and that's what I want. I do have some leaf spots I want to talk about. It's okay for me to take leaves out that are no longer being productive. This is definitely a leaf that I don't want on here. I don't believe it's doing me any good. It may actually be stressing the plant to have it, and I do have some of that going on. And so I'm going to go through this particular plant and prune off any leaves that are no longer viable. Tomatoes are obviously coming on right now. I've got plenty of leaves working on behalf of this plant. I'm not worried about removing any diseased leaf branches. I did have a little bit of an aphid problem. I think we've taken care of it, but the damage has been done, and we had intense heat. I think this is normal. So we're going to just go ahead and take off the ones that I feel need to go. Have you grown Matinas? Comment down below. I'd love to meet you. This is my second time with Matinas. They were so good. I saved the seeds. I didn't grow Matinas last year, but I am pretty happy so far with my early results. I'm going to get a ton of tomatoes off these plants, I believe. Come on, let's prune. You can see that this plant is still putting out little baby suckers. So you can just periodically go through and pull those little guys right off. I'm seeing some damage right here, and I honestly can't tell you what that's from. I don't know if it's the heat or the stress. We had a little bit of an aphid problem. She seems to be doing fine. I've got the double leader system going right here. You see I have two, a main stalk and then a sucker that you've allowed to grow. And this sucker that I've allowed to grow is also producing flowers and fruit. This is a leaf here that shows some damage. I'm guessing it's not really feeding this plant. It's become a drain on this plant. So we're just going to get rid of that. And there's a few on the other side. This plant is going to look really sparse when I'm done. And I'm not going to let that bother me a bit. So those lower leaves that I'm pruning off that have turned a little black on the edges, they obviously are no longer viable for the plant. They're actually a drain on the plant, and it is not going to hurt the plant at all to prune them away. It seems terrifying because I'm going to have this half bald tomato plant, but that tomato is putting new leaves out at the top, leaves that are reaching up, and they are going to grab that sunlight and convert it to sugar. So those lower leaves, they served their purpose when the plant was little and growing, but at this point those lower leaves, if they're wilting, if they're brown, if they're spotty or yellow, you need to get rid of them because the plant is trying to deal with those leaves as well as putting out all this fruit and new leaves and growth, and it just doesn't hurt it to prune it away. It's actually really helpful. Again, I'm not growing tomato leaves. I'm growing Matina tomatoes, and Matina tomatoes are a really great early tomato. We'll be eating these not too long from now. Check out this one's starting to show signs of turning red. Little bit of a yellow blush across the top. This will possibly be the first tomato I eat this summer. I'm so excited. We're inside the trellis and we're looking back at the Matina tomatoes and the rising sun, so this might be an issue. But I wanted to show you how tall this Matina plant is. It's taller than I am. I'm about 5'5" now, maybe 5'4.5". I'm shrinking. I'm shrinking. But this tomato is not. It is growing, and I have to make decisions on how to support her and how tall I want to let her get. I'm going to put a support right here, right at this crossbar, to kind of convince it to lay down a little bit along this trellis. My dream is to be able to harvest fruit inside and outside the trellis. I did it last year. It was amazing. And this year I'm being a little more aggressive about it because I know how to grow on these trellises now. And it's all a little bit of an experiment, really. I'm going to tie this one up. You tell him, Phoebe. Yeah, you tell them to stay out of my garden if they're the bad guys. Okay, now I'm going to be so gentle because there's a lot of good stuff happening here. And I'm just going to ask it gently to come through here. Now it'll want to grow up, so this will naturally support itself. And that's all I'm going to do there. It's a vine, you know? Let it do what vines do. See this guy? Ain't no good anymore. I'm not going to cut it right off at the stem. I've been cutting them off with like an inch left just to help the plant not be too stressed. But this leaf, it's not helping my plant anymore. When they start to droop, you can let them go. It's creating a ton of airflow and also helping the plant not have to deal with leaves that are no longer viable. I'm going to see what this little sucker's going to do. I'm going to leave that guy. Your pruning doesn't have to be done all in one day, but you should periodically, every 2 or 3 days, check your tomato plants. This is a huge growing time for them. My Matinas are not super leafy anyway. As I get up in the plant, even if I see some that might be looking a little distressed, I've already pruned off the lot on the bottom, so I may let that lay for a week or a week and a half and come back and see what new growth I have, what sun leaves are out. Plants are looking great. They're putting on fruit, and I want to give them every opportunity to do so. So I'm going to continue to coddle and secure and assess the growth of my Matinas. And hey, I was editing this video and it occurred to me that I forgot to tell you something, so I came out here bright and early to mention a couple of things. It is the end of June and I am working on all of my tomatoes. At this point, anything from the top of the dirt, or in my case the bale, on up until the very first flower, wherever the first flower is, I'm going to keep the suckers at bay. Now, from this point on, I am going to let the suckers go because they will create their own flowers, and I'm going to let them go a little bit wild. Why? Because I do have a short growing season and I want as many tomatoes as possible. Anything low, I don't want. I don't want more main branches, but I'm going to let the suckers go at this point. This little guy, 100% safe. The second thing I didn't tell you, and I didn't tell you this with the Vesuvios, and I didn't tell you this with my first tomato pruning video, but you need to start feeding your tomatoes, especially after a prune. Tomatoes are really heavy feeders, and even though the bales are full of really great nutrients, we've had 2 really good rains, and you know, rain washes away nutrients. It gives your plants the moisture it needs, but it also washes away what's in the bale. So it's time to start feeding, and I'm going to show you what I use. I am not an affiliate, but I am using the Tiger Bloom. This is a 284. You want that middle number for tomatoes to be high. It promotes blooming. I'm going to feed them this. With the exception of my garlic, which still needs a lot of nitrogen, I'm going to feed all my plants that bloom this. That would be green beans, my squashes, everything that needs to make flowers and produce a fruit. Don't forget, you do need to start feeding. Feeding equals bigger yield, happier plants. Okay, well, back to the rest of what I was saying in a different outfit on a different day. Bye. I'm going to talk about the striped Roman. It is a Roma tomato. It is a little different because it's striped. It's an heirloom tomato, and these are growing from seeds that I saved 2 years ago. maybe 3 years ago. I don't know, with all the craziness that's happened in our world, I have lost a couple years. I do have in this, I tried to keep all my varieties separate, but I do have one Pomoderino del Pianolo del Vesuvio in here, which I will just deal with. I do have a video on that at the end. If you've grown striped Romans, if you live in the Pacific Northwest and you grow tomatoes, come on, I'd like to meet you. Comment down below. If you like this content, please like. That really helps the YouTube algorithm shoot this video out to people who might be interested, and it helps my channel grow. Please subscribe. Please join me. It's fun here. We have a lot of fun. Okay, on to the striped Romans. The concept is the same. We're pruning. We're going to get rid of any drooped, dropped leaves, so I'm going to keep this one short, but I do want to show you the fun fruit. It is beautiful, and I do have tomatoes coming on. We're going to be eating some tomatoes this year. Okay, the sun is rising. You want to do your pruning early in the day. It really helps the plants. And these were the first tomatoes I planted, and in the last video I talked about bare roots. I did find some issues with, I think, 4 or 5 of these tomatoes, and all I did was bring over some compost and mound it up so those roots are covered, and I put mulch on top of that. They are getting plenty of water, and these plants are thriving. I'm not concerned about the bare roots anymore, but I am glad I caught it early. You do want to spend time with your tomatoes. A lot of time. Here I have a leaf that has started to drop, and it's starting to get a little brown. This leaf is taking energy from my plant. It is not giving as much as it's taking at this point. So I'm going to prune it off right here. And that's just normal. These leaves were there at the very beginning and they helped the plant grow, but they're no longer helping the plant. They are a drain on its resources. So I'm going to continue to look for any foliage, any suckers, and train my plants. I'm going to train them up this trellis because they need the support. As fruit comes on, they're going to need more and more support. All right, let's go back over here. I got to get off the ground. Here's what the striped Romans look like. They're so sweet. They have this little nipple right there, and they'll get bigger, but this is what they come out looking like. Just a traditional Roma style tomato. Sun's coming. I'm going to keep this one short. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to prune these up, and we will continue to do updates, but I have to hurry through and get this pruning done because it's not good to prune in the sunshine. So yeah, again, I love having you here. Here's some more tomato pruning videos right there. Right there. Bye.